Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Labyrinth. Your Oracle reader, your Oracle of the Labyrinth here. If my voice is a little bit deeper or raspier, I've been sick for the last few days, but I've been feeling good. I've been feeling a lot better. I've been feeling more energized, and I want to get back on creating some videos for you guys. So today we're going to be talking about Virgo right now. And we're going to be using two of these decks that I have. One is called the Prism Vision Tarot, and the other one is called the Cosmic Vision Oracle. So I'll share a little bit more about that later on or in the comments if you want to know more about this deck when you see some of the artwork. But I spent some time with one of the decks the other day and I spread it all out and I just saw some of the artwork, and the artwork is just freaking magical. It's really, really a great deck to read with, and also a great deck just to admire the art as well. And so to start off, Virgo, we're going to be starting off with the Oracle, just to like get in and tap into whatever energies might be out there for you, whether it be about relationships, career, just life in general, just to pop in to see just to pop in to see what kind of energies are there for you, okay? Ooh. All right. Let's get into this. Ooh. All right, there we go. The Cosmic Tree. This is so suiting for Virgo as well too, because Virgo is about nurturing and growth. Let me see if I can zoom in on there. Come on. There we go. Zoom in on the Cosmic Tree. This is so suiting for Virgo because we're about nurturing and growth. And maybe we might be feeling extended or really putting ourselves out there on a few things. I think something that we need to remember is to go back to being grounded, like going back to our roots, going back to our base, going back to our true intention. But this is a good thing, especially if we're like extending as much as the branches are extending and twirling. I think this is really a good thing. But if you ever feel like exhausted or like you're so far connected into your grounding or where you're coming from, that's allowing for this really mass extensional growth that you've been noticing, that you've been going through. So where's this growth going into? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, all right. We have the Pelican. I think the Pelican comes up in tarot as the Hierophant. And I believe like this is just like you're having this knowing and your knowledge and your buildup of experiences that you're having this growth in, like you're having or beginning to have this self-trust within yourself, knowing how much you could carry, how much you can't, what's really yours, what's not, just letting go of the things that are no longer serving you. Was where this Cosmic Tree is connecting, and how it's connecting to the Pelican. There's just a lot of this magic and wisdom, carrying that magic wand right there, right? And also like the symbology of the Pelican, it reminds me of like it's a gull. Like it could only pick up so much before it can't have flight anymore. So that's where I'm getting, like, you know what's yours and what's not. You're only picking up what is yours. And if you pick up anything more than that, it's going to keep you from really ascending and flying high to where you want to be at. But that's what's coming up, is like this growth, this understanding of where you're at. Even just probably the ceasing of limiting beliefs, taking out toxic environment, or taking out people that are toxic to your environment, right? Not necessarily getting out of toxic environments, but taking out people that would be toxic to your environment. You know what I mean? Eight of Lotus. And like, this is going back to like the ground, going back to where you came from, where you grew up at, or that environment that you were nurtured in, that emotional connection to your environment. We get to revisit that. Get to take a deep dive. Ooh, that's a good one. We get to take a deep dive into that root system. We get to take a deep dive into where we came from. Because there's a lot of knowledge there. There's a lot of release that gets to happen there. There's a lot of understanding of what's been holding us back, what's even maybe some of our triggers, or some of our things that we procrastinate against, even a lot of the shame that we might have of going forward, or even having even more growth, right? So we get to take a deep dive and look back, where either you've done this recently, you've done this deep dive back into where you came from, and like how I said before, and you realize that that's not yours anymore. This is really something that I've been experiencing personally too, and finding out also that if I'm going by real time astrology, like what's going on in the sky, I'm not actually a Libra, I'm a Virgo, and this makes a lot of sense for me. What kind of energies are we taking on? What kind of approach, or sorry, how are we seeing this show up in our lives? Let's ask that. How are we seeing this show up in our lives? 1, 2, 3. Oof. It was strength in reverse. The way we were seeing it show up was is where we were weak, where we didn't stand up for ourselves, where we didn't show that we were protected. It's I really think that's what that comes from. It's like where it was showing up in our lives is where we were starting to recognize where we were weak, and that's where we started to have this growth, or where we needed to go back and look. So that's where we went to, is we looked towards some of our weak spots, where we weren't protected, where we weren't taken care of, whether it was from ourselves or for people that were supposed to be in charge of us. There's a lot of deep diving that we did in those areas, and where we saw where we didn't have strength, or we didn't have that protection, and we started to do that work around those areas. What other ways? How is this showing up in our life now, in the future? How is this showing up in our life now? 1, 2, 3. Well, we got the Hermit right now, and it's showing up in our lives right now by taking a lot of alone time, taking our time with ourselves. The Hermit isn't necessarily about isolation; it's about solitude. It's about having that solitude, having that comfortability with yourself, knowing yourself so well that that is peace for you, that you could be at peace with yourself because you know yourself. And only when you take time, only when you have growth, only when you see the calmness in the water of not having those obstacles, and how those obstacles create torrents in the water, in your calmness, in your life. But when we start to remove that, when we get to rise above it, like the way in this picture there's that little being on the bridge and rising above the torrents, we realize that's our peace. Not necessarily being in the water with those obstacles, but rising and being away from those obstacles and really seeing where they were at. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for us. That this alone time that we've been in is perfectly fine. Taking our time, taking our solitude, being away from those things that caused distress or caused worry or caused anxiousness, or just those torrents, right? That those obstacles create, those rocks create, allowed us to have this peace, allowed us to get into this hierophant mode of connecting to our wisdom, because only when we go into hermit mode do we really connect to our life and see where we are learning from our lessons, what didn't we do right, so we could go back, and not necessarily go back, but be aware for the next time. So we're learning, we're becoming enlightened. This is a really good spread for us, Virgo. All right, let's end this. How's this gonna help us? 1, 2, 3. Three of Pentacles. We get to start building. We get to start building again. We get to start creating again, because Virgo, we are an earth sign. There's Pentacles is an earth sign. And we get to start building again. We get to start constructing. We get to go back to what we were building before, or what we wanted to create. We get to just start building. Not necessarily that we need people to help us, because we know what we're doing. We're by ourselves. We already put the window in. We were putting the walls up. We know what we're doing already. So it's not necessarily need somebody to help us, because, like I said, we have this experience. And so we know what we're doing and what we're creating now. And I think not caring about how we're creating it is the best part about what we're creating. Because we're not caring about what other people are thinking about what we're creating, because we're just in the moment of creating it. All right, that's going to be it. Thank you, Virgo, for watching. Anybody else, if you're watching as well, if you're a cross watcher, make sure you get this message out to your fellow Virgo friends to go watch this video, because they might be needing to hear something like this, especially with what they might have been going through, or in the dark spot that they were at. All right, so that's it. You all have a beautiful, bright, and shiny day. And if you can't, be the reason why somebody else can. And remember, don't forget to like, subscribe, and then let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. All right? You all have a beautiful, bright, and shiny. I already said that. All right. Bye, guys.